So if you work with your screen all the time, then what do? You have to recognize the danger, and you have to give yourself some space many times during the day, even if it's just for 1 minute at a time. Give yourself space so that a balance arises between that interaction with the screen, which is the collective mind, and connectedness with being is the way we could put it. So I sometimes suggest to people to put a flower or a potted flower next to their computer screen, so that from time to time they look at that for half a minute, even a few seconds, and really look, or learn to take a breath, a conscious in and out breath. Let's call that a mini meditation. Meditation is very helpful for many people, not for everybody. If you find it hard to meditate, use mini meditations. One mini meditation is one conscious breath. What does that mean, conscious breath? It means you look away from the screen. If you can, look at something natural, a plant or the sky. But if not, that's fine. Look at a light, artificial light, whatever it is. And breathe in and follow the breath with your attention into the body, and then follow it with your attention as it flows out of the body. What does that do? It takes attention away from thought and puts it into the body. In other words, it creates a space in your consciousness, because while you are following the breath with your attention, you're not thinking. And when you're not thinking, but you haven't gone to sleep, you've created a space in your consciousness, and that's it. So that's just one conscious breath occasionally. 2 is even better, or 3, but that's fine, that's enough. And of course, that's one of the oldest forms of meditation is conscious breath, probably already recommended by the Buddha, who is supposed to have said, just be conscious of your breath for 1 hour and you'll be totally enlightened. But if you miss just one, you have to go back to the beginning. And feeling the inner body. If you don't have nature, is very helpful to take you out of your mind, although many people walk around nature and they're still in their minds. But if you can interact with the natural world, the trees, the park, the beach, the mountain, the forest, walking occasionally, and truly pay attention to what you see without interpreting, that can bring you into connectedness with being and into the present moment. Your dog, a wonderful thing I noticed here, people are allowed to bring their dogs. That makes an enormous difference to the energy field, not to every home and to the company. When you interact with a dog, there's a moment when you're not actually thinking. That's why it feels so good, because you know the dog is not thinking about you. Although you might have heard the saying, please God, make me into the person that my dog thinks I am. The fact is the dog isn't thinking. That's why the dog relates to you with unconditional love, because the dog doesn't judge you, and you know that the dog doesn't judge you, and therefore the dog does not stimulate your thinking mind. It actually frees you for a moment from your thinking mind. That's why people laugh when many people, except unless you have a phobia, that's a different matter. Most people love interacting with a dog. Cats also, but let's talk about dogs because they're here in the company. So when you pet a dog or even just look at a dog and the tail wags, there's something liberating there for a moment, and that's why humans respond to the dog and you go, oh. If you look very closely inside yourself, at that moment, there's a moment when you're not thinking, and when you're interacting with the dog. Unless you're so obsessed with your mind that you immediately judge the dog. That can happen too. I've met people like that. But for most people, it's a liberating thing, because the dog is nature. In its beauty and aliveness, has not arrived yet at the stage of thought that humans have had to go through. So you experience that aliveness of nature in the dog. So, okay, you have that, and if you don't have a dog, that's fine too. You can feel nature as the inner energy field in your body. And you can even practice on the computer screen while you're looking at something. See if you can be in 2 dimensions at the same time while you are looking. Don't do it at first when there's something extremely demanding, but just when there's something kind of routine thing you're checking on the screen. And see if you, while you're looking, you can feel the inner energy field of your body as you do perhaps now, in the background, so to speak. I recommend that as a kind of meditation. You can practice it when nothing is happening on the screen first, or put a flower on the screen and look at that and see if you can, at the same time, feel the aliveness in your energy field that keeps you rooted in being. And then you don't lose yourself totally in the collective mind that comes at you through the screen. That's a beautiful, I highly recommend that. Put a little reminder on your computer screen, a little thing that says inner body or whatever else you want to call it, so that you remember. And you will find you're more energized. It's extremely energizing to sense that, to be connected with that. And so that one could call that the balance between doing and being in your life. Because thinking is part of doing. Doing is not just what you do physically. Thinking is also a kind of doing. But the human needs the 2 dimensions, being and doing. And if that balance is lost, you could lose it in being, but that's not the danger of our civilization. There may be some Indian yogis who get lost in being and don't want to get up anymore because they're so happy in being that there's no need to get up anymore, even put food in their mouths. That's fine. I'm not talking to them. I would have to have a different message for them. But I'm talking to this civilization, people who are lost or who get too much doing, which really is thinking. There the balance is between being and doing. And even if doesn't have to be 50-50, 20%, it's hard to put a figure to it.
But we like to measure things.
Yeah, I know, yeah. So 25% being, 75% doing, then you're doing very well. Even 10% being would make your life much easier and much more enjoyable.